Way back when I was flight instructing, take a lot of steps back to 2011. I was flight instructing out of the Long Beach airport, and we were flying the Diamond 40, so the little four-seat single-engine Diamond aircraft. And we were downwind at Long Beach for, was it 2.5 left? And it's been a while since I've been there, so I might have that number wrong. But for the left runway, on the downwind, talking to tower, and suddenly there's no communication. We're talking, don't hear anything back, clicking the mic, nothing, nothing, nothing. It's totally quiet. And I look over at the tower, see a green light gun signal. I'm like, oh, someone's radios are out, we can land. So land, taxi back in, find out the tower's lights went out, or radios went out, and they gave us the light gun signal to land. The green light's the easy one. That means go. Green, land, good, easy. But there's like flashing red and white and flashing, different colors. And I started thinking, if I didn't get that green light, when was the last time I reviewed these? I've never used them in real life. Would I have known exactly what to do? So I made a little reference card and put it on my knee board that just had all the light signals and what to do based on where you are. And then I was like, man, there are other things that I never use, critical information or rarely used stuff that I don't want to be in a high stress situation and then be like, oh, I don't remember, the mind I lost it. So started putting that stuff on there, made a compilation of VFR information, important, rarely used or critical, and then IFR information, same kind of stuff. One side VFR, one side IFR. And I built this reference card, the idea being, flight instructing can be inconsistent, definitely not doing it to get, to get rich. So maybe I can make a couple hundred extra bucks on the side with this little reference card, and, that'll cover my groceries every month. I'll be set. I'll be eating way better. So built a website, found an awesome, super durable paper, had it digitally printed on that, and then put it on the website to start selling it. I also put the CFI lesson plans I wrote on the website to drive traffic. So to become a CFI, you've got to take the CFI check ride. And the examiner, generally from the FAA, wants you to have a lesson plan for every topic in what was then the practical test standards. And they've transitioned now to a new format called the Airman Certification Standards, which just lays out all the requirements for the rating. So it just says, hey, these are all the topics you got to know. And then each topic is broken down into individual elements. So you know everything you got to know, the standards for it, basically it gives you the roadmap of what you got to know. So you have to have a lesson that can teach each of those topics, if that makes sense so far. Mm-hmm. So it's a ton of work. It definitely took me at least 2 months. And during this time, while I'm writing all those, I'm paying for flight school. I am not bringing money in and taking more time that I'm without a job and not on my path to whether it's the airlines or the military or whatever you're doing. So I threw those lessons on the website to hopefully drive traffic. I didn't really think they'd be a big product or anything like that, or, there was a huge demand for them, but maybe it might get a little extra traffic and I sell a couple more reference cards. Long story short, those lesson plans ended up being a lot of demand for them. And it makes sense. It's so much work to make those lessons and get everything put together for the check ride that if I had a backbone of lesson plans that I could edit and just use that were consistently updated, it would have saved me, at least 6 weeks of that 2 months, give or take a little, and could have saved way more money, gotten the instructing job way faster, got the check ride done quicker. If you're going the airline route, get to the airline quicker, which is better seniority and yada, yada, yada. So found out that there was demand for these, that ended up being the real driver, and actually kind of just stumbled into a product I didn't know existed or was necessary. So over the years, I basically just continued to update them, make them better and better, transition it to the Airman Certification Standards, improve the formatting, keep up with changes in regulations and FAA standards, and then added slideshows to it, built syllabi around them, and then built some other documents. Actually, while I was on that deployment in the Middle East, sitting for 5 days, wondering if your phone's going to ring, got to have something to get done. And they only show so many movies at the movie theater, and you can only see them so many times. So yeah, started writing some other products, ACS reviews that just go through step by step, every task and element in the ACS. And, the FAA says you got to know the airspace requirements. Here they are. They say you got to know turning tendencies during takeoff. So each little task I just kind of laid out an explanation for. So, and then keep those up to date too. So those basically just walk through every step of the ACS. So to back up, CFI lesson plans are built and designed to be current for a CFI or someone preparing to take their CFI check ride, to really shorten that time, prevent reinventing the wheel, and then just edit them to your teaching style and your aircraft or whatever you need, and then take them to the check ride. So you're comfortable with the content, it fits you perfectly, and then you save time and get to the check ride. Whereas the ACS reviews can be helpful for that. There are a lot of CFI candidates who reach out and ask for it and say they definitely use it. But in my mind, it was more designed for the private instrument and commercial student getting ready to take those check rides, where they can say, hey, the FAA wants me to know, these turning tendencies or these rules on airspace. I just need that tidbit of information. So you can go to the ACS, go to the ACS review, go to that topic, that specific task in there, and it'll just say, hey, these are the requirements they want you to know. So trying to just make the path to becoming a CFI smoother, easier, and then the study ability and the path to the other ratings smoother and easier as well. And then to tie it all together, I started building syllabi. So what it does is if you get your CFI rating and you're becoming an independent CFI, you've already got all these CFI lesson plans that you've specifically tailored. So now you can just grab the syllabus for, say, a private pilot student. It says lesson 1, teach this lesson and this lesson from your CFI lessons for ground lesson 1. And then for flight lesson 1, teach this lesson and then go fly and then come back flight lesson 2. So it kind of pulls everything together. It says for the CFI, these are the lessons you need for each ground and flight lesson. And then for the student, these are the topics in the ACS review to go over. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it started in 2011 with the reference card, and then over the years, especially early, started realizing the CFI lessons were kind of the core and important and what people really could use. And then so I've just continued to develop and improve them over time. And now the hope or the idea is just start building stuff more tailored to flight schools. So rather than having the CFI lesson plans that you prepared for your CFI check ride, now it'll be just flight school specific. I've got to teach ground lesson 1. Here's the information. Here's the slideshow. I can hand that to any of my flight instructors and they can teach it. And, started investing more in making it prettier, more fun, energy. So I had a PowerPoint guy come in, redesign the slides and professionally get that done. Hoping to start building out into some more tech forward kind of operations, whether that's an app or a web portal, something to, make the studying and the whole process a little better for everyone.
Like a one-stop shop.
It's been quite a process. Yeah, exactly. One-stop shop for people trying to get their CFIs, for CFIs, and for flight schools. Mm-hmm. And then by default, that'll introduce all the training material that, it can also help out the private instrument and commercial students too. So just try to make the training a little better and a little easier for everyone.
So yeah, Nate, where can we find you online for that business?
Yeah, the business is called the Backseat Pilot. It's backseatpilot.com. And that came from the reference card. So when I was developing the reference card, trying to think of a name for it, and that was the only product at the time. And so trying to figure out what to call it, and just one day that phrase popped into my head, Backseat Pilot. The idea being it's your little backseat helper, not the annoying backseat driver, but just your little get out of jail free card, if you will, of, hey, this is the important stuff or critical, tough to remember stuff. And I've got it in my, whether it's on your knee board or in your bag, the little backseat pilot's there to help out. And I try to kind of keep that mentality of, you know, you're the pilot, we're just here to help, and try to make things a little easier. Just be your helping hand in the back, whether that's for C-up or flight schools. So the backseatpilot.com. And then from there, you can see the different CFI content. The flight school stuff's not out there yet. I'm working on it at the moment. But everything else is out there, from ACS reviews to the CFI lesson plan and syllabi.
So are you on like any social medias where people can reach out to you directly there?
Yeah. Yep. Got the email and contact form on the website. And then Instagram is the Backseat Pilot. Facebook's the same. Not on TikTok at the moment. I got to get to work on the social media side. But yeah, basically Facebook and Instagram are the primary ones. And then the website is very easy. Or info@thebackseatpilot.com. And I get all those emails and read them all and respond to everyone. So yeah, very open to questions, suggestions, ideas. And then over the years, I've also tried, having done the CFI route and then been down the airline route and then done the military route as well, kind of done it all backward. I've tried to take all the lessons I've learned from those and start consolidating and incorporating them into the training. So there's a few times where I'll mention like, hey, this is what the Air Force did. They taught, for example, when you've got an emergency in the aircraft, the Air Force would teach us MATL for the way to handle it, which was maintain aircraft control, analyze the situation, take the proper action, land as conditions permit. Quick step, and they really drill that into your head. We'd have to do what's called stand up during training, or they stand you in front of the class, they put you in a situation, say, hey, you're in the middle of a roll or you're in a loop, you're inverted, and you get a red light. You have the aircraft, what do you do? And you say, sir, I have the aircraft, I'll maintain aircraft control, handle the situation, take the proper action, land. So they basically give you a scenario, and then you've got to go through those steps, describe the process. So kind of incorporated that in there, at least that process, not the stand up, because that was a whole different Air Force thing. And I don't think a paying student wants to go through that, where standing at attention and the pressure of the whole class watching. And if you get it wrong, you don't fly that day. And yeah, so they put you under pressure there. But the idea being, use the scenario-based training that everyone talks about, and then give these students a way to remember how to do it. And the Air Force likes this tactic, airlines use this. So trying to incorporate the different fields and, different techniques and procedures to make it all tie together. And if anyone's interested in purchasing any of the Backseat Pilot content, use Aircrew Interview for a discount. Happy to offer 15% off. Aircrew Interview, one word or two. I'll make sure both of them work, but thanks so much.
Do you have any hobbies?
Hobbies. I mean, a lot of my time goes to Backseat Pilot and writing those lessons. But absolutely, yeah, I try to stay active with the gym. So getting some exercise in, try to do that as much as I can, especially with the airline job where you sit a lot a day. I try not to let that take over. And then primarily here, so I'm in Chicago in the summer, and man, in the summer in Chicago, it is try to get outside. So lake, bars and restaurants, enjoy the city, enjoy the warm weather, the time we have it. And following on that, I grew up playing baseball through high school. So got a rec softball league out here I like to play. And that kind of sums up the free time at the moment. I would like to get a little more going. Always enjoyed working with dogs, had dogs growing up. And my goal was, when I got out of the Air Force and I freed up a little more time, there's an anti-cruelty society just down the street. So now that I got a little more time, just got out of the Air Force a few weeks ago. So now that time's starting to open up, I think I'm going to try to get down there and help out with that, if they need the help, assuming. But yeah, basically try to stay active, enjoy the warm weather. We'll see how I get through the winter here, but travel a bit. Absolutely. Try to go warm places, especially in the winter. That's turning into a hobby, and especially growing up on the West Coast and then moving to a place that gets real winters, like legit winters. It is.
Yeah.
It's a new experience for me, and so I got to get out and get some sun when I can.
Yeah. I think I might know this one, but again, I'm always surprised. Favorite aircraft you've flown?
Favorite aircraft I've flown. I'll try to go away from the C-17, but
Okay.
outside of that, because that's yeah, you can say that's the favorite for sure. Outside of that, it was the Pitts for sure. That was man, that was an incredible. I did 2 flights in that over 2 days, and it knocked out the spin training I needed for my flight instructor rating. And then he was just like, spins aren't it. If you can control the airplane and all these different, you know, attitudes, yeah, that is a huge amount of training. So, and like I said earlier, it was like a little kid in a candy shop. It was, man, so much fun. Upside down rolls. I remember the Hammerhead because I'd never heard of that before, and just incredible aircraft, super powerful. I remember the first time he took off, I don't think he had all the power in. Then he's like, all right, you ready? Watch this. And then he went to, I
God.
don't know, max power, takeoff power, and just pulled. And I was like, this is amazing.
Did you get
So yeah,
sick?
that was incredible. I did not. Nope. Nope. Have not managed to not get sick yet in the plane, which that is a bit of a thing, going through the Air Force training too. There were a few times where like, oh, it's hot and we're doing a lot of weird movements, but haven't, never got sick.
So I just got a question there. Why you mentioned that? So let's say you're the top pilot, but you get airsick quite a lot. Would that affect you going through the system in the military or in, like even civilian?
Yes, there is. The military they say their stats are 98% success rate of curing air sickness. And they've got a group of guys who teach the physiological side who will work with you on a daily or whatever schedule basis to get you through the air sickness. And some level of that training is putting you in a chair and not an office chair and spinning you like we do as kids, but they've got a specific thing designed, where they can strap you in and spin you and get your body used to those feelings. And they say 98% of the time they can cure it, take care of it. But yeah, if you can't get through the air sickness, yeah, you're not going to get through pilot training. So
Mm,
people will wash out for that,
right.
but generally works out.
Next one. One you would like to fly either past or present.
That is definitely the P-51. That would just, man, such a beautiful, beautiful aircraft, and the power behind it, the performance, and just the iconic, nature of the plane itself. Anytime I see that, man, it's just would be a dream to get into it. And I always thought growing up, and not even that long ago, that man, if I can sell enough lesson plans, this P-51 is, I'm going to buy one and I'm going to fly. It's going to be amazing. And then I looked up the price, and now I realize it is, and I think they're like at least 3 million each. So that
Wow.
kind of shut that dream down a bit. They are not enough. Not that any aircraft's really affordable anymore, but they are not affordable um, to the common person.
But can you in the States can you get like a backseat ride? Because we do Spitfire rides over here. I don't know if you can do it over there in the States.
Yeah, you've got it. I'll look that up. You've got to be able to. And then there are a
Right.
couple companies who've developed like scale models of the P-51. One was recently in the AOPA magazine. I don't remember the name of it, but I remember seeing it and being like, that's pretty cool. I want to say it was like an 80% size replica.
Hmm.
And then I was flying with a guy a week or two ago, and he said there was something called the Thunder Mustang, I think he called it, which is also like a P-51 replica, but might be a little more powerful than the one that was in AOPA. I haven't looked that up yet, but there there might be some options that are not millions of dollars. But man, to fly that,
Yeah.
just a piece of history, and you see it in the movies, and it's just, man, it's beautiful aircraft.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we saw it. I think Tom Cruise flew it in the latest Top Gun, didn't he? At the end, he had that flying, and it just looked amazing with the lighting.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. They always got the cool paint job, and I think Tom Cruise owns one,
I think
and
that was
I'm
his
pretty
personal one
sure.
in the movie. Yeah,
Oh, even better. That's awesome.
yeah,
So,
but
got to get in the
yeah.
movie business, I guess. Get out of flight training.
But yeah, great stuff. But Nate, just once again, we can remind our viewers where we can find you online.
Yeah, backseatpilot.com, or reach out. There's a contact form there, info at the backseatpilot.com, or Facebook or Instagram. More than happy to talk. And if you got questions about any of the processes, the paths too, whether you're on the CFI, airline, civilian, military path, more than happy to provide whatever advice I can and see if we can help.
Well, Nate, thank you very much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a lot of fun talking to you, and great catching up.